$500,000 in state and federal funding is expected to help train new semiconductor workers through Delta College. Here's WSGW's Jonathan Dent.
Delta is expanding its semiconductor training program thanks to $292,000 from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, or MEDC, as well as $284,000 in federal funds awaiting approval. Delta is one of many schools around the state to receive from the MEDC's $3 million Semiconductor Higher Education Grant Initiative. MEDC Talent Solutions Director Chris Rishko says they're bringing together educational institutions and semiconductor manufacturers to help address shortcomings in the international microchip supply chain. The expanded programming will see Delta partner with four-year institutions like Michigan State, SVSU, and Central Michigan, as well as local employers like Hemlock Semiconductor and SK Siltron. Students will have opportunities to receive industry certifications, career credentials, and one-year or two-year certificates beginning in 2024. Jonathan Dent, News Radio 100.5 and 790.
The Humane Society of Midland County is holding a photo contest for an upcoming calendar. Interested applicants can have the chance to have their pet become a part of the organization's 2024 pet calendar. Entries will be accepted online through September 25th at gogoPhotocontest.com. Photos should include pets only, not humans, and are best when shot in clear, bright conditions and are free of any watermarks. Horizontal photos work best. Voting on the photos will start September 26. Supporters can help raise funds for the organization by voting on their favorites. All proceeds from the contest will benefit the Humane Society of Midland County's programs and to the care for animals at their shelter. WSGW News Time 9:07.
You have a family doctor. Do you have a family plumber? When you have a plumbing, heating, or cooling problem happen in your home or business, you need to be able to call a professional that you can rely on and trust to make the repair or equipment replacement. Reamer Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning has been the professional homeowners and businesses trust for 65 years. Whether you're looking for an emergency water heater replacement or planning a new heating system installation, you can trust Reamer Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning to provide quality service and installation. Reamer has the equipment to fit every budget, experienced estimators, and state licensed technicians to install. Trust a professional to do the job right. Call Reamer Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Visit them on the web at reamerplumbing.com.
Any way you spell it, Reamer means quality.
WSGW News Time at 9:08. The weather forecast is next. President of the UAW has announced a new deadline in contract talks with the big three car makers. In a video sent out last night, President Shawn Fain says if there is not significant progress in talks by noon Friday, workers at other plants will go on strike. Currently, 3 plants, including one in suburban Detroit, have been shut down with workers walking picket lines. Plants in Toledo and Missouri are also the target of a strike. Contracts expired late last Thursday night. Starting to see the first impact from this strike among Michigan auto suppliers. According to a report by Cranes Detroit, the contract manufacturing supplier is planning to lay off 293 employees in Shiawassee and Lapeer counties due to the strike against the Detroit Three. A notice filed with the state by CIE Nucor says it tentatively anticipates a 1-month layoff starting October 2nd. The impacted jobs include mostly machine operators at plants in Corunna, Owasso, and Clifford. There's a major push for passing laws to make it harder to have domestic violence offenders continue victimizing people. Ryan Marshall has this report.
A group of domestic violence advocates and lawmakers statewide are pushing for what they're calling common sense domestic violence laws. They're pushing for the Michigan State House and Senate to pass a bill into law that would prohibit those convicted of felony and misdemeanor domestic violence from buying and having a firearm for 8 years after their sentence. Terry Garza is a domestic violence homicide survivor and advocate.
It wasn't until a few years ago I found the courage to face what I never thought I could. The guilt for having survived.
On Detroit's East Side, I'm Ryan Marshall, Michigan News Network.
WSGW News Time 9:10. I'm Mike Percha. Now here's WNEM First Alert meteorologist Matthew Mondro.
Your Tuesday is going to be quite a quiet day, only a high of 70 degrees, partly to mostly sunny. Our wind will start to shift to the south today with a speed of 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight we'll have a low of 52, mostly cloudy with a few isolated showers after midnight, southeast wind at 5 to 10. And then on Wednesday, a few more isolated showers at the high of 76. And we'll have a southerly wind at 5 to 15 on Wednesday. Thursday could still see a few showers lingering, but that chance is at the lower end. Otherwise, partly to mostly sunny Thursday with a high of 79. Between tonight all the way through Thursday, rain totals will be very sparse, only up to about 1/10 of an inch at the most, and they will be highly isolated. By Friday, still looking at highs in the upper 70s, so warm to close out the week. From the First Alert Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matthew Mondro.
Right now at WSGW, it's 52 degrees.
Now, the only local radio talk show offering you the chance to ask your questions and express your opinions from around your block to around the world. The Art Lewis Show is on 100.5 and 790 WSGW and online, WSGW.com. The Art Lewis Show is presented by Westside Decorating Center.
Yes, indeed. Westside Decorating Center is the presenting sponsor of the Art Lewis Show. Visit them at 5789 State Street in Saginaw or online at westsidedecoratingcenter.com. I am not Art Lewis, but this is the Art Lewis Show. I'm Jonathan Dent, filling in for Art this morning, this wonderful Tuesday morning. Hey, I like the fall weather. I'm a fan of it. Joining me is my co-host here, Christiana Malacara. Christiana, good morning.
Good morning, Jonathan. I, too, am enjoying the fall weather very much.
Yeah, that 90-degree stuff.
I'm over it.
It can stay away.
I'm over it. Yeah.
And you've brought with you a special guest for this hour.
I sure did, yes. Jonathan, did you know that today is National Voter Registration Day today?
I did not.
You know what?
I knew it was International Talk Like a Pirate Day because that's one of my favorite days of the year.
Well, now you'll never forget this.
Now we won't. It's on the same day.
It's on the same day.
There we go.
So in honor of that, we have Vanessa Guerra, who is at Saginaw County Clerk. Hi, Vanessa. Thank you for coming in today.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
How's your day going so far?
It's good. It's good. I like the hot summer weather, though. So I'm not on board with you two. I miss the summer and I wish it would stay longer.
So also I wanted to mention a happy belated birthday to Vanessa.
Oh,
Yes,
hey,
thank
happy birthday.
Yes. So Vanessa, you are Saginaw County Clerk. Prior to that, you served 6 years as state representative here for the 95th House District. So can you tell us about kind of just expand on what brought you to the position you're at now? You're Bridgeport Spalding High School alumni. So definitely rooted here in the area. So how did the cookie crumble?
Yes, or cookie form, I guess. I born and raised Saginaw County, proud graduate of Bridgeport High School. I, from a very young age, was very interested in politics. So if you ask my parents, they'll tell you how every election I would bother them and ask them who they're voting for, even though, a lot of the issues that they were addressing were not issues probably that my young mind could comprehend, but I knew that voting was important and I knew that having a voice in your community was important from a very young age. And so my parents really went out of their way to support that. They encouraged me to get involved. And so when I went away to college, I got involved in a lot of political groups and in some campaigns. And then when I came back, I got involved with our county party, where I again got involved in some campaigns. There was a position on our township board that was open. And I thought it was the perfect opportunity to give back to a community that I really loved. I loved growing up in Bridgeport. It was it was welcoming and diverse and had a really good experience. And it was also an opportunity to get involved in politics, which was always my interest. So that's where it started.
Wonderful. So I looked you up, right? So you double majored in political science and Latino studies. With that duo, how is it that you have an interesting or a new, fresh perspective that you provide as a county clerk?
Yeah, I think that, so I'll say for one, there are not a lot of county clerks of color in our association. So there's 83 counties, meaning there's 83 county clerks. And we are a wonderful group and but we're not very diverse. And so it gives me the opportunity to really share a perspective of what's happening in our brown and black communities and how, especially now, we don't have nearly as many barriers as we did to voting with some of the legislation that I know we'll talk about later. But there are still things that pop up that maybe if you didn't grow up in a household where, both parents were working and were working more than one job, you might not understand some of the issues that people still experience when they're engaging in the voting process.
So how can you give us an example of what a family of color might experience that they can benefit from the county clerk's office?
Yeah, I think the thing that comes up the most is working parents. So the example I give a lot, and is an example that I hear from voters all the time, is that election day is one day, and so if I get up before polls open at 7 a.m., but I'm already getting my kids ready, I'm dropping them off at school, I'm going to work, I get out at 5 or 6, I have to pick them up from daycare, I have to take them home, I have to get them fed, and it could be a single parent, single mom, or single dad. By the time I get them all done, it is already 8 p.m. and I don't have the time to vote. Recently, though, of course, there are more opportunities to alleviate that. And so we have that conversation about, you're right, one day to vote is not enough time to vote. However, you don't have as much excuse anymore because now we have 9 days of voting that we're going to talk about. And you also, of course, have the opportunity to mail in your ballot. And so it's about educating all people, about those other opportunities that exist for them to engage in voting.
Let's backtrack a little bit. Let's ask that golden question of who is Vanessa Guerin? How are you contributing to the community personally? I know personally that you you dabble and you wear many hats in nonprofits and for profits. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Just for the listeners out there that are like, okay, who's Vanessa?
Yeah. So I take my responsibilities as an elected official very seriously. I always feel that I have to earn people's vote, and it's not just once. I have to earn it every single year after year, whether I'm on the ballot that year or not. And so I try and find opportunities that I can engage with the community in things that interest me. So I have a Latino group that I'm very involved with. I'm also very involved in politics still with my county party, but also attending other community events where I can engage with people. And a lot of people frankly ask a lot of questions about state assistance. So or engaging with the state, because I used to work at the state as a state representative. And so I still very much am able to engage with people and try and help them make connections with, okay, you're having unemployment issues. This is who you need to talk to. And then I have a great colleague in the state house now, or the former colleague of Representative Amos O'Neill. And so we rely heavily on his office, and we channel a lot of people to him because they sort of start that conversation with me. And then I'm able to say, hey, okay, this is our state representative now, and he's going to carry you the rest of the way through that process.
So what's the next few steps for you? Like, what do you see your future as far as developing the community?
Well, next year's election year, so I hope to get reelected. So I'll be running for county clerk again. It's a 4-year term. We've got a lot going on in the clerk's office. And I know I keep saying this 9 days of early voting, but it is the most significant piece of legislation that's ever happened in the history in the state of Michigan when it comes to elections. And so I'm very committed to doing that well this year and making sure that it's done well every year after that. It's going to be a huge endeavor, and I'd like to stick around, or be able to, the honor of people allowing me to stick around and making sure we have our hands around it so it's being done correctly here in Saginaw County.
Great. I am excited to share more about that after our break. You're definitely going to go ahead and cover that 9 days of early voting topic.
We'll be right back with more with County Clerk Vanessa Guerin after these notes.
It could be the best years of your life. In retirement, you'll finally get to do what you want to do, but you have to plan for it. Start by tuning into Mindy and Nolan McIntosh of McIntosh & Associates every Sunday at noon for Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes. Make retirement the best time of your life. Tune in Sundays at noon for Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
RocketGrabPlus.com. This week's deal on RocketGrabPlus.com is for Sullivan's. You are going to get a $20 gift certificate to Sullivan's for only $10. Half off. Sullivan's has a great selection of burgers to choose from, or maybe you want something lighter. They also have delicious salads, as well as a variety of seafood items to try. Snag your voucher today before they sell out and head to Sullivan's for dinner. It's all at RocketGrabPlus.com.
RocketGrabPlus.com.
This is a paid advertisement. Pulaski Kirker with principal offices in Houston, Texas is responsible for the content of this advertisement. Parker Stenauer is attorney licensed in Michigan. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should never be based upon an advertisement.
Attention, victims of sexual abuse. If you were sexually abused by a member of the clergy, listen closely, as you may be entitled to financial compensation, even if the abuse happened decades ago. A recent report from Michigan's Attorney General details decades of sexual abuse in the diocese with accused priests. If you suffered abuse from a clergy member, no matter how long ago, call our law firm's confidential clergy abuse helpline at 800-305-9179. We may be able to get you justice, closure, and substantial compensation while your case remains fully confidential. This is your chance to hold those responsible accountable and receive a meaningful financial settlement. So hurry, call our law firm's 100% confidential clergy abuse helpline right now to seek justice and compensation. Call 800-305-9179. That's 800-305-9179. 800-305-9179.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Today, you'll be able to buy a piece of Instacart. The grocery delivery company is launching its stock on the NASDAQ. The ticker symbol is CART. The parent company is actually named Maple Bear. The stock's been priced at $30 a share, the upper end of its expected range. Amazon is holding a fall sale, and now Target has revealed it will too. Amazon's Prime Day deals are October 10th and 11th. Target's Circle Week will be October 1st to 7th. Target says it's offering deep discounts for loyalty program members, and the company says it's planning to hire nearly 100,000 seasonal team members. The Federal Reserve's meeting is today and tomorrow. Its decision on interest rates and its assessment on the economy is expected Wednesday. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
Jesse Kelly here. Do you feel protected? My personal protection plan is owning gold. The Oxford Gold Group helps you buy gold to have on hand or convert it into your 401k. If things get weird, I have gold on hand. I like that. You can buy coins or convert part of your 401k with the Oxford Gold Group. It's easy and safe. 833-995-GOLD. That's 833-995-GOLD. 833-995-GOLD.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Exergen thermometers are proven to be more accurate than non-contact thermometers. With children back at school, keeping them healthy is important. Clinical studies have proven that non-contact thermometers are inaccurate and can miss fevers. Accuracy matters. That's why the Exergen thermometer is trusted and used by medical professionals. Exergen thermometers are available at Walgreens and other participating retailers. Choose a trusted and accurate thermometer for personal use. Learn more about why accuracy matters at Exergen.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The WSGW Morning Team.
The WSGW online poll, a government shutdown possibility. If by September 30th, lawmakers don't come to an agreement to keep the government funded, the shutdown would happen. The Senate appears to be more bipartisan than the House. The fight in the House related generally to overall government spending. The biggest impact, hundreds of thousands of federal workers furloughed and not paid, although when the shutdown ends, the back pay would kick in. Government safety and security would continue, such as the military still operating, Social Security checks going out, air traffic control being maintained. Since shutdowns have been allowed to start in 1980, there have been 10. Poll question, what is your thought about a government shutdown? Are you concerned and believe it should not happen? Are you not concerned and you'd be okay with it? Or you're not sure? We'd like to know through your poll vote. Head to WSGW.com, scroll down the homepage, find the poll box, and make your vote.
Your Morning Team, 5:30 to 9 on WSGW.
Welcome back to the Art Lewis Show on this Tuesday morning. I'm Jonathan Dent, joined by Christiana Malacara. We're sitting here talking with Saginaw County Clerk Vanessa Guerra. And before we went to the break, we were touching on it a little bit, but we're going to deep dive into the early voting law, I guess. Let me show you how much of an informed citizen I am. You're talking about early voting, and I'm sitting here going, that was recent. When was that? What was that? When did that pass? What was that process?
Yes,
'Cause
yeah.
I'm trying to remember it.
No, that's we talk about elections all day long in our office. So for us, it's just the only thing we can think about. But we have to remind ourselves that it's also our responsibility to educate the voters, and so that's why I'm happy to be here today. So in 2022, back in November, there was a proposal 2, which would create a constitutional amendment, which would enshrine 9 days of early voting into our state constitution, and so that would be 9 days where it would be election day. You could go into your polling location and you could get a ballot, fill it out, and then actually place it through a tabulator. Now we won't know results through those 9 days. It's still only one after 8 p.m. on election day that results will be released, but you'll be able to go in person and do that. There were several other major parts of that, also prepaid return postage. So that way, if you get a absentee ballot application or absentee ballot, the local government will now be, well, it's funded by the state, but they'll be paying for the postage on that. And also a permanent AV list and required AV drop boxes. And so a lot of this we'll be doing more voter education, public education on it later this year, but we have some agreements we have to finalize before we can move forward on that.
So essentially, the 9 days is a grace period. So, like you just spoke about, a single parent or, can't get a ride or can't get the day off that's on voting day. This gives them 9 days of opportunity to get to and from.
Right. And there's 2 weekends built into it too, because if you also don't recall, in 2018, there was that proposal 3, which allowed you to vote at your local clerk on the Saturday, Sunday before the election. And so with 9 days, you're actually getting 2 weekends. So there's a lot of opportunity to vote. We just got to get out there and do it.
Absolutely. I understand the opportunity that this kind of thing offers, but there are concerns about security and how safe is it? Is this going to mess with how things kind of get counted up?
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
do you address that?
Yep. We talk about this regularly in our association. And I was, before the show, I was sharing that what I like best about our association, and one of the things that I like that's different than Lansing, is that our association is Democrats and Republicans. And for the most part, you wouldn't really know the letter next to that county clerk's name because we don't talk about partisan politics. We all have one thing that brings us together, and that's ensuring people have access to the ballot and that those ballots are safe and secure. And so when we talk about this, security has been top of mind as we're developing our plans. One of the things that's very important to us here in Saginaw County is we really want to, we're going to go before our county board. So we hope to get their permission to have the facility, our voting center at a county building, because then we can really maintain who has access to the building. We're able to secure it where there's some locked cages in a building that we're looking at right now. It's near the county sheriff's department. And so we have law enforcement nearby. There's cameras around it. So those are the things that we kept in mind when we were looking at a location, because we need people to trust us and they need to be able to engage with this, but they're not going to if they don't trust the process.
Is that a common strategy for implementing this kind of thing around the state?
Yeah, a lot of, and actually in the legislation itself, it says that you should try and find a public building first. That should be your top priority, is try and find a publicly owned building, whether it's by your county government or a local government. And then if you can't, then you have the ability to look at some other privately owned business. There are still rules attached with that as well. So it can't be a private facility owned by anybody who has a campaign finance account or is, the head of a local party or something like that. But for us, we really wanted to avoid all of that and just keep it in a public building.
So the early voting will only have one place you can vote at.
Yes.
Early. Okay.
Yeah. So it's one county voting site. we have done myself and our chief deputy in the clerk's office have done extensive research on the cost. And so there are some larger counties who are doing like 4 sites throughout the county. But based on the cost and the fact that we don't know how many people are going to utilize this just yet, we're just going to have one county vote center in Saginaw County. And then if after that the numbers start to grow and we see a need for more, then we would do that. But it's the best use of taxpayer dollars is to start small and do it really well the first time and making sure that we have all the security steps in place before we think about expanding it to more than one site.
Okay, so when did this pass?
November. So the constitutional amendment was passed by the voters in the state in November of 2022. Now, what happens when a constitutional amendment is passed by the voters, there's still implementing language that needs to be passed by the legislature. So even though the voters passed it in November and it was enshrined in our Constitution shortly after that, the implementing language developed by the legislature was not actually signed into law until this past July. So this has been a labor of love, as I call it, because myself and our chief deputy, we both come from the legislature. So we were able to be very involved in the drafting of the statute that implemented the constitutional amendment. So we have been working closely with our senators and representatives to ensure that we were fulfilling the desires of the people in the constitutional amendment, but also making it realistic so that we could securely carry out what we were being asked to do.
Is this going to change mail-in voting at all? Do we expect numbers to change, or has the restrictions around it changed at all?
Right. That's a very good question. So the restrictions around it have not changed. So it's just another option that still exists that's out there for voters. As far as how it will impact how people vote, the research has shown that over time, about a third of voters end up using election day voting still. A third of voters will use one of the 9 days or one of the early voting days, and then a third will continue to vote by mail. And so, but that's over time, and that's why we're going to monitor those statistics, because if it does end up being that many people, we have 157,000 registered voters here in Saginaw County. That's if a third actually used county vote center, that's quite a bit. And so we'll monitor that over time, and then we might have to expand our vote centers and into different parts of the county to fill those needs.
How is voter turnout in Saginaw County? Because you mentioned over time, a third shows up on
Right,
election day.
yeah.
Before that, and in previous years, how have we seen voter turnout?
I think in our November election, I want to say it was like 53%. Don't quote me on that, but we do have the stats on our website. And so it could be much better. I would like to point to, I think it's Frankenmuth. The city of Frankenmuth has like a 70% voter turnout. It's one of our smaller communities. And so of course your percentage is higher if you're smaller, but still, I think it shows that if our communities value voting, which a lot of them do, then, it's reflected in your voters and they'll come out to vote. And so we want to make with something we want to work on. And that's why when we're talking about this early voting, our main goal is to educate people about what it is, so that if you're one of those people that hasn't voted because maybe you don't want to vote by mail, but you also don't have time on election day, now you have 9 days to come in. And so it's, again, our responsibility to educate the voters on that.
9 days and 2 weekends.
9 days.
So there's no
includes 2
excuse.
weekends.
There's no
Yes.
excuse.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know I mentioned it already, but today is National Voter Registration Day. How do you register to vote?
That's a very good question. So we'll actually be going out to SVSU this afternoon to register voters out there. But again, Michigan has made that easier than it was in the past. So you can register online if you have your state ID, and it's michigan.gov/vote. If you don't, or if you don't have all of the information, you can still use the paper form. You can register with your local clerk or your county clerk. You have to show proof of residency. And so state ID is your best option. But if you don't have that, you can use a utility bill, a banking statement, or any document that's come from a government that shows your address. But for the most part, voter registration is high here in Saginaw County. That's not really our problem. Our problem is getting people to turn out to vote. And it kind of reminds me of something that you mentioned earlier about trust. And, we have to build trust in the voters, because they're not going to engage in the voting process, whether that's voting for politicians or voting for ballot proposals, if they don't trust the process. And so we're really hoping that it's a very dicey time in politics right now, but whether you're Democrat or Republican, we hope that you are still engaged in the issues, because it matters. It matters who represents us.
Fantastic. Well, we're talking with Vanessa Guerra. She's the county clerk of Saginaw County. We'll be right back after these notes.
Have you heard about the benefits of joining Dow Credit Union? Great rates, member give back rebates and rewards, friendly local service with locations in Midland and Saginaw. From your family and friends to your passions or place of employment, we have a pathway to membership for everyone at dowcreditunion.org/join. Membership eligibility required. While member give back rebates and rewards occur with great regularity, this credit union benefit is not guaranteed. Not all loan and deposit products are eligible for member give back consideration. Some limitations apply. Insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
There's nothing predictable in farming. Until now. Pivot BioProven 40 microbial nitrogen doesn't leach, denitrify, or volatilize like synthetic nitrogen. And Proven 40 stays with the corn plant throughout critical growth stages. Start with Pivot BioProven 40 as the predictable foundation of your nitrogen management plan. Contact your Pivot Bio sales rep today to get the lowest prices of the season. Visit pivotbio.com. That's pivotbio.com.
This is Jason from Applied Training Solutions in the Midland Mall. We are the Midwest's premier self-defense academy. From our state-of-the-art digital firearm range to open-hand self-defense classes, we are building a safer community one student at a time. We offer concealed pistol license classes that combine both live fire and digital range training. Online at simurange.com and Facebook at ATS Midland. Applied Training Solutions, forward-thinking, on-target training.
Get your group together for a Tigers game. Whether you want to cheer from the stands or enjoy a private hospitality space with food and drinks, there are a variety of ticket and hospitality options available for groups of all sizes. Plus, save on Tigers tickets when you purchase as a group of 20 or more. Perfect for family gatherings, employee events, hosting clients, church group outings. Start planning your group outing by visiting tigers.com/groups.
Hi, this is Scott Trout of Cordell & Cordell. There are a lot of great dads out there. Sometimes those dads get divorced. For more than 30 years, we've represented men in divorce, confronting the pitfalls that could devastate your finances or harm your family relationships. While every situation is different, our goal is to get the best outcome for you and your kids. Visit CordellCordell.com to take the first step.
Offices in Detroit, Ann Arbor, and Grand Rapids. Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's attorneys. Online at CordellCordell.com.
Yeah, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 50 features.
Ooma?
Yep, switching to Ooma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Find small business calm at ooma.com/radio. That's OOMA.com/radio.
Hey, it's Jesse Kelly. When a restaurant closes, my reaction is, that sucks. They had good steak. When regional banks close or 3 of them close overnight, it freaks me out. This is why I have my own personal gold reserve. It's part of my personal protection plan. Call my friends at Oxford Gold Group. Call 833-404-GOLD. 833-404-GOLD. That's 833-404-GOLD.
Ew, gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried New Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in 1 wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
The back-to-back Big Ten champions are hungry for more.
He's in the clear! To the 10! To the 5! Yes. Tipped in, intercepted!
What a great catch.
Into the blue! Touchdown, Wolverines!
Join us this Saturday for the Big Ten opener when Michigan welcomes Rutgers to the Big House. Kickoff is at noon, right here on your home for the Wolverines.
U of M game day coverage presented by Lingle Equipment begins at 11 o'clock on 790 AM WSGW.
The WSGW Broadcasting Studios are sponsored by the Premier Kitchen and Bath Gallery Showroom and Design Center in Midland.
Welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. Jonathan Dent and Christiana Malacara filling in for Art on this wonderful Tuesday morning, and we're talking with Saginaw County Clerk Vanessa Guerra. Christiana, we committed the cardinal sin of radio and talked show topics during the break,
Sure
and
did.
there was some great information, so we're going to make sure we share that on the air.
All right. So let's just put it back in the VCR and reverse
Rewind.
a little bit. Okay. So what's going on at Saginaw Valley today, Vanessa?
Yeah, so at Saginaw Valley, our office will be having a table there for National Voter Registration Day, where we'll be able to register voters. And one thing that I like to remind people is that we really don't have so much a voter registration problem here in Saginaw, or really in the state. It's about getting voters to turn out. And so I think what we'll probably see more today is trying to remind young people where they're registered to vote, because we actually have an election that is just around the corner. The presidential primary will be held in likely in February 27th. There's some politics behind that, but it's probably going to be February 27th. And so in just a few months here, voters will be asked to go to the polls. And so our goal is to remind people about where they're registered to vote. And something that everyone should keep in mind about the presidential primary in February is that it only happens once every 4 years, only when the candidate for president is on the ballot. And so sometimes we forget that that is the one where you have to decide, you can decide if you're a Democrat, you're going to vote for the Democratic nominee for president, or if you're a Republican, you vote for the Republican nominee for president. But if there is a proposal on there, which we don't know for sure if there'll be any ballot proposals on, you can also just vote for the ballot proposal. And so if you don't have a preferred candidate, but you do feel strongly about whatever ballot proposal is on, you can just vote the ballot proposal.
That's interesting, because I don't think a lot of people actually know that, especially young voters. And that goes back to, educating the community in general,
right?
In general, of like, what is it that we can do on the ballot? What's okay? What's not okay? How are we, scribbling in on those circles?
Right.
So today at Saginaw Valley, what do you need to register to vote?
So you can do it online if you'd like. And with that, you need your state ID, as like I said. But if you decide to do it in person, there is a form that you can fill out, and you'll have to attest to being a U.S. citizen and where you live. And then any additional information like proof of residency is you have to prove that you live in the community in which you're saying you're registered elector in, which you can do with a bank statement or any document from a government that shows your address. Utility bills are very common, but most of the time people are able to register with their state ID.
When we see people registering to vote, and I think it says a lot that you're heading out to SVSU on National Voter Registration Day. Do we see a lack of young people engaging in the political process, or is that picking up?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing a lot of people kind of fall out because it just has gotten so ugly. I mean, especially at the federal level, there's just so much negativity that at some point people will tune out because they don't want to hear it anymore, or because they don't trust the process or the people who are in power. And so a pitch that I often try to make to people, all people, young and old, is that, okay, I'm not going to argue with you about federal politics and the issues that they got, but local politics matters, because we're talking about people who are going to be serving on our school boards, people who are going to be serving on our county commission, people who are going to be judges who may be deciding a case. These are people that we have an opportunity to have a voice in. And so even if you want to forget about the federal politics, I would encourage you to do your research and to vote for federal candidates. But if you're unwilling to do that, please continue to do your research on our local candidates, because frankly, those are the people who are making decisions that are going to impact us every day that you see in real time.
Absolutely. And the closer that people are to the problem, that's
yes, those are people you can connect with. If you have a problem, you can call them. I know, and being an elected official, I know a lot of my colleagues in elected office, and I know I can call them anytime, and I know that constituents can too.
Absolutely. Wow. I do want to ask this question, because we're talking with the county clerk. Apart from voting and elections, what does the county clerk do?
Yes, we do a lot. And so there are 3 divisions within the clerk's office: elections, which is our main top priority; vital records, which is your birth, death, marriage certificates, notary applications. So that's the happier part of our office. We get to engage with a lot of happy brides and grooms. And then circuit court. So we also oversee circuit court records, which is where people go to file for less happy things like divorce, custody, also dealing with civil issues over 25,000 and felonies and high misdemeanors. So that's they're very different, but we have something going on one of them every single day.
Covers a big area over there.
It is, yeah.
We'll be right back. We're talking with Vanessa Guerra, County Clerk of Saginaw County. I'm Jonathan Dent, joined by Christiana Malacara. We'll be right back after these notes.
At Wildfire Credit Union, our team will tell you that everything we do is for our members because it's about you always.
When you write a check or pay a bill online and something goes wrong, even the best of us gets rattled. I recently took extra time with a member experiencing that kind of frustration. Gina paid some recurring charges she suspected she no longer owed. I looked far back into her account to get a complete list of her payments. This allowed her to stop payment with confidence. She told me she could not have done it without me.
Treating members like family, going above and beyond to lend a hand when it matters most. That's Wildfire Credit Union. It's what we do every day. Find out for yourself. Call 800-227-2328. Click on wildfirecu.org or come by any Wildfire location to experience banking the way it's supposed to be, where it's about you, always. Wildfire Credit Union. Distinctively better. Member NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
Imagine this, winning big at Soaring Eagle. Make it $1 million summer with over $1 million in premium play every Saturday now through September. 6 lucky players win $500 premium play every half hour from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Don't miss the excitement of $1 million summer. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Your getaway reimagined. Visit SoaringEagleCasino.com for complete rules and details.
DTE's renewable energy projects build communities. Our wind and solar projects have provided Michigan communities with thousands of jobs over the last decade, not to mention millions of dollars in additional tax revenue that funds roads, schools, and first responders. Libraries, parks, and even veteran services are supported by our renewable energy projects. So when clean energy projects thrive, our communities thrive too. DTE.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain.
But we don't speak Spanish.
So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks. Babbel's conversational method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish.
Estoy muy emocionado para ir a España contigo.
Aw, he just said, I'm very excited to go to Spain with you. Nos vamos a divertir mucho.
And that means we're going to have a lot of fun.
Sí. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Now at Staples, the prices of HP printers are dropping. Save on HP Smart Tank and enjoy even more savings on ink. Save on the HP Inkjet, perfect for high-quality pics. Save on HP laser printers, great for tackling high-volume document printing. Now through September 30th, save on Staples' entire selection of HP printers, some as low as $69.99. With HP printer price drops at Staples, now is the time to upgrade to HP, America's most trusted printer brand. See staples.com/HP for details.
Hi, this is Mike Avery. You know you can hear my outdoor magazine show Sunday mornings, 9 till noon on WSGW. But now there's another option. Saturday morning, 6 till 9. Tune in for the latest outdoor news and information, hunting and fishing tips, wildlife and conservation issues, even some wild game cooking. That's Outdoor Magazine now on Saturday mornings too, 6 till 9. right here on WSGW 790 AM and 100.5 FM.
This is going to fly ball left field. This one's fairly deep. Going back, it's Friedel looking up. Gone! Andy Ibanez gives the Tigers the early lead.
The Tigers play 9:45 tonight on WSGW 790 AM.
Well, time flies when you're having fun. We're down to our last segment here on the first hour of the Art Lewis Show. Jonathan Dent and Christiana Malacara along with you, talking with Vanessa Guerra, the Saginaw County Clerk. And we mentioned a little bit about the upcoming election, primaries, all of that. And you touched on you're going to be engaging in some education, trying to get people up to speed on what they need to know before going out to vote or even before registering to vote. What's all involved in that?
Yeah, so part of the legislation that was passed for Proposal 2 actually requires us to have a communication strategy, which I think is very important. And so we'll be using a lot of social media, but we also want to engage with community groups that maybe we haven't traditionally engaged with. So for me, I have a lot of connections within, for example, the NAACP. So I know I'll go out there, I'll talk to them, I'll talk to the League of Women Voters. We have the American Association of University Women, a lot of groups that I already have shared information with, but I'll go out and do it again. But we want to broaden that. And so if you are somebody who has a community group, it doesn't matter how small, if there's only 4 of you and you want me to come talk about it, that doesn't matter. We want to make sure we get the word out, because the more people we can educate, they can then educate their friends and family members about the upcoming election and all that they need to know.
Okay, so what is the next step? How am I going to say this, Jonathan? Sorry, what is the next step for someone who wants to get on the ballot?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And one that sometimes people don't think about until the last minute. So I'm glad you asked that now.
Exactly.
So the official candidate filing deadlines, for 2024 have not been released yet. And so what I like to tell candidates is that we do have a page on the county clerk's website. So saginawcounty.com/clerk. Running for office is what it's called. And so on there, we'll list the filing deadlines, which are very important to follow. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you miss the deadline, then you don't have the opportunity to file. And it also explains where you have to file. So some people file with the county clerk. Some people, if you're running for a higher office, will file with the state of Michigan, or you might file with your local clerk. And so take a look at our website, but just be prepared that starting in January, if you're thinking about putting your name on the ballot, start looking at our website for those filing deadlines, and always call our office. Between myself and our election director, we will do all that we can to get you the answer about what your specific filing deadline is.
So that window begins in July or January, sorry.
So
January?
typically, I would have thought the state would have released the deadlines by now, but there's a hang up because of when the presidential primary is going to take place. And so they're kind of trying to get that settled. So Lansing is giving us a run for our money right now. We're trying to get things settled, but we need to know our dates. And so start looking in January about when your deadline will be.
Absolutely. So there's still time. I think that was...
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're thinking about running, there's absolutely still time. Now is the time when you're starting to do your research about what that position entails so that you can be prepared to answer those tough questions from voters.
Well, I guess there's still time if a lot of politicians haven't really started campaigning
yes.
yet. That's when you know we're getting down to the wire a little bit.
Right.
We talked about early voting. We talked about mail-in voting. Another kind of misconception or hang up that a lot of people have, and I just want to get this out there too, is technology. Technology's involvement in voting, and it is increased as we've moved through the years. For us as a news organization, it's very nice because we get the votes counted up, and on election night, we can report them very quickly. How, I don't want to say how secure is that, but how does that process work for your office?
Yeah. So the website that Jonathan's referring to, it's our election reporting website. Again, can be accessed from our main website. So that the numbers that come in are not connected to that website. So there's no connection. We have to manually enter results into that website so that it populates for everyone to see. And so that's why, even though, if you wanted the fast results, you could just go stand outside of a polling location and see, once they print the tabulator tape, what the results are. But once they print it and then we get that information, then we manually enter it, because our tabulators, which is the machine that the actual ballot goes through, cannot be and are not connected to the internet. And so that's what takes so long on election night, is that we have to collect that information from 30 different municipalities. And so it's very important for people to take a step back and realize that we cannot have immediate results, because that's what's going to put our security at risk. We need to take time and make sure that we can get those results in a secure manner, because immediate results is not what we're for. We're for accurate results, and that takes a little bit of time.
Now, when we're talking about early voting, those won't be counted until election night.
Yes, correct. Yep. So there'll be no results released. If you had a person who worked the polls on one of those 9 days and released the results, they would be convicted of a felony. And so we take that very seriously, that those cannot be released.
Well, are they counted beforehand? I know they're not released until that night, but are they counted up beforehand, or do they wait until election? They go in the closet until election day, and then they get counted up?
Right. So we will close the polls every night and secure the ballots together. So they will be, touched by the two poll workers, a Democrat and a Republican, but they won't be tabulated and released at any point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at these, when you go to vote, there's always a table there with a volunteer. So how is it that someone can get involved in that process on election day?
Yeah, the best way is to reach out to your local clerk. They have a poll worker application that's available all year long. That way they can kind of keep you in their queue, so that they know who is available. And so yes, you can reach out to us as well. We do people who have submit them to us, and then we refer or send the application to their local clerk. But that is a good way. It's a good nonpartisan way to get involved in politics and to give back to your community.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, thank
Well, we
you.
want to thank you for joining us this morning. Time flies when you're talking about elections and due process and all of that.
Right.
But we want to thank you for joining us here on the Art Lewis Show. Christiana,
Yes.
thank you for co-hosting. You'll be sticking with us for
I
another
sure
hour
will.
here.
I'm very excited about that one too.
Absolutely. We'll be right back with more here on the Art Lewis Show.
Hi, Art Lewis here. And after many years in several vehicles, I finally get to talk about my car dealer, McDonald Ford, on M47 in Freeland. McDonald Ford wants you to know they are now buying cars. You can sell your vehicle by beginning the process by simply sending 7 photos of your car to joe@mcdonaldford.com. Photos must be of the front, rear, left, and right sides, car's interior, dashboard showing vehicle mileage, and a photo of your title showing the VIN number. Receive an offer, and you decide. Payment is on the spot and includes all paperwork and lien release. Don't wait. Put cash in your pocket today and tell your friends and family too. Send your photos to joe@mcdonaldford.com. That's joe@mcdonaldford.com. Oh, by the way, mention my name, Art Lewis, and they'll throw in a free lunch with the deal. McDonald Ford, 6790 Midland Road in Freeland, devoted to helping and serving you.
Retirement is more than a newly discovered free time. It's a time to reflect on how you'll be remembered and your legacy. It's important to make proper arrangements now. Tune in to WSGW every Sunday at 8 a.m. to your Financial Empower Hour with Jason and Carl Kreiderman from Great Lakes Investment Advisors in Midland. Learn how to structure your retirement savings to increase the value of your estate and help leave the legacy you want. Plus, call Great Lakes Investment Advisors today, and they will include a complimentary Legacy Maximizer at 989-835-7203. That's 989-835-7203. This commercial shall in no way be construed as solicitation to sell securities or advisory services of any state other than Michigan, or where otherwise permitted. Topics should be discussed with your individual advisor prior to implementation. Advisory services offered through Great Lakes Investment Advisors, a registered investment advisor in the state of Michigan.
O'Hara drops back. Play action. Has time. Looking. He's firing over the middle. He's got a man. Caught. Touchdown Saginaw Valley. Derek Hinton Jr.
After a tough 21-7 defeat on the road against Truman State University, the Cardinals of Saginaw Valley State University return home this Saturday to take on the University of Indianapolis Greyhounds. Game day coverage presented by Jaganathan Neurosurgery and Forward Energy begins at 1:30 on 100.5 FM WSGW. that'll do it for this first hour of the Art Lewis Show this morning. We want to thank Vanessa Guerra for joining us from the Saginaw County Clerk's office. Well, she is the Saginaw County Clerk, so it's her office. Important stuff, elections, getting involved, especially when you're talking local politics. Some good information there. And it is National Voter Registration Day, so if you're so inclined, go out, make sure you're registered to vote. If you're not registered to vote, make sure you're getting involved. Up next, we'll have Dr. Don Hinton on to talk about the Sankofa Project. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, with Saginaw's sister city in Ghana. But first, the news.
From the Premier Kitchen and Bath Gallery Studios, WSGW, Saginaw, Bay City, Midland, WSGW FM, Carlton.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. President Biden is expected to be front and center at the United Nations General Assembly shortly to appeal for an end to what he'll call Russia's naked aggression in Ukraine. Secretary General Antonio Guterres opened the session.
Our world is becoming unhinged. Geopolitical tensions are rising. Global challenges are mounting. And we seem incapable of coming together to respond.
Most major leaders are skipping this year's events, and Mr. Biden's appeal for continued support for Ukraine could be a tough sell to Congress. Correspondent Nancy Cordes is in New York.
President Biden is set to host Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House later this week. But there's still no guarantee he'll be able to sell the GOP on another $24 billion Ukraine aid package.
President Zelensky is scheduled to address the UN General Assembly this afternoon. 5 freed Iranian Americans arrived on U.S. soil in Virginia this morning. Special presidential envoy Roger Carstens accompanied them.
On behalf of the President of the United States and the Secretary of State, it's an honor to be the first to welcome you back to the United States of America and to freedom.
The group was released from detention in Iran yesterday after months of secret negotiations with the Biden administration that delivered $6 billion in frozen fuel assets back to Iran. It's day 5 of the auto workers' strike, and the union president is threatening to expand the walkout if there are no significant advances in contract negotiations by noontime Friday. 25-year employee Karita Russell's on the picket line at Ford.
We all have to stick together. As a middle class, we have to stick together. That's the bigger picture, is we're fighting for what the middle class deserve.
The World Health Organization is shining a spotlight on the most preventable cause of death. Correspondent Vicki Barker is at the foreign desk.
The WHO says about 1 in 3 adults worldwide lives with high blood pressure, but most aren't getting adequate treatment. In its first ever report on hypertension, it says if even half of those who have high blood pressure kept it under control, 76 million deaths could be prevented by the year 2050.
If you're going in for acupuncture, make sure your practitioner is licensed. A New York City acupuncturist without one has been charged with assault and reckless endangerment after officials say he punctured a woman's lungs during a treatment. She passed out on the street and needed major surgery. The victim had hoped to ease her stomach and back pain. Dow down 59 points. This is CBS News.
When you think of hiring, think of Indeed. Their end-to-end hiring system helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all in the same place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Hey, Kate. So you think we've got tar spot?
In that field east of the river, for sure. That's why I'd go with that Brevant Seeds Corn Hybrid.
You got those soil test results?
Yep. We'll want to increase your potash recommendation.
Should I be using a pre-emerge for mare's tail?
Absolutely. And soon.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Nope. A hot dog is a hot dog.
If it matters in ag, your retailer knows it. That's why at Brevant Seeds, we work only with retailers. Find yours at Brevant.com. We're not saying Brevant Seeds could beat every seed brand out there. We're just saying that a new way of doing things backed by constant innovation, over 100 years of ag experience, science and service, the world's largest library of corn germplasm, and utilizing the expertise that can only come from local ag retail has led Brevant Seeds to average more bushels per acre than the competition every year we've sold seed. That's all. Bucking the status quo. That's the Brevant Seeds standard.
2 times the healthy blood pressure support? That's a number to rave about.
Thanks to Superbeats Heart Chew's unique 2X ingredient that helps promote normal blood pressure nearly 2 times more effectively than diet and exercise alone. Superbeats is America's #1 selling beet brand, and the only #1 cardiologist, doctor, and pharmacist recommended beet brand for heart health support. A clinical study showed that the key ingredient in Superbeats Heart Chews is nearly 2 times more effective at supporting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. And they're part of a brand with over 60,000 5-star ratings and reviews. So double your potential with a special offer exclusively for radio listeners. Get a free 30-day supply of Superbeats Heart Chews and 15% off your first order at getsuperbeats.com with code RADIO. That's a free 30-day supply and 15% off for radio listeners only at getsuperbeets.com, code RADIO.
Live from the 100.5 and 790 newsroom, this is WSGW News.
Mostly sunny skies and 52 degrees at 10:05. Good morning. The body of a 45-year-old man washed up on the shore of Big Charity Island in Lake Huron Sunday. The Arnett County Sheriff's Department, State Police, DNR, U.S. Coast Guard, and the Huron County Sheriff's Department responded to the island around noon when the body was discovered. Investigators say the man was boating alone on the bay and died of an accidental drowning roughly a week before being discovered. Police say the man lived in the Tawas area, but they had not released the name as of Monday afternoon. The investigation is ongoing and an autopsy has been scheduled. An 11-year-old boy was shot while riding his bike Friday night in Saginaw. State police say the boy was shot while riding in the area of 5th Street and Lapeer Avenue around 8:30. He was taken to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. No one else was injured, and there are currently no suspects in custody. The investigation is ongoing. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Saginaw Major Case Unit or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-422-JAIL. The complimentary recreational vehicle sanitary dump station located at the City of Midland Water Reclamation Facility is closed to the public for about 2 to 3 weeks due to construction on facility property. An announcement will be made when the dump station has reopened. For more information on the city's water reclamation department, visit cityofmidlandmi.gov/water reclamation. The McLean Nature Preserve Tallgrass Prairie Walk takes place this Sunday at 3 p.m. The event is co-sponsored by the Saginaw Basin Land Conservancy and is free to the public. McLean Nature Preserve is located at 2199 North Flagler Road in northwestern Bay County, about a quarter mile north of Erickson Road. For more information, call 989-631-3067. WSGW News Time, 10:07.
We're not saying Brevant Seeds could beat every seed brand out there. We're just saying that a new way of doing things backed by constant innovation, over 100 years of ag experience, science, and service, one of the world's largest libraries of corn germplasm, and utilizing the expertise that can only come from local ag retail has led Brevant Seeds to average more bushels per acre than the competition every year we've sold seed. That's all. Bucking the status quo. That's the Brevant Seed standard.
This month, when you play the Daily 3 or the Daily 4, you could be in for a big surprise. How? With a Daily Games bonus draw. Play your usual daily numbers, midday and evening, and then get ready, because any draw could be a bonus draw. And your prize could jump 20%. That means a $500 win becomes $600. Daily 3 and 4 bonus draws are for a limited time this month only from the Michigan Lottery. Daily 4 straight and wheeled bets are excluded. Knowing your limits is always the best bet.
WSGW News Time, 10:08. The weather forecast is coming up. Michigan State University will soon be looking for a new football coach. The university announced Monday it's planning to fire suspended head coach Mel Tucker after he was accused of sexual harassment from rape survivor and activist Brenda Tracy. MSU's athletic director put out a statement saying Tucker has a week to explain why he shouldn't be terminated for cause. There will be a hearing October 5th. Tucker has said the relationship with Tracy was consensual. Childhood obesity is a serious problem in the United States. The Center for Disease Control says nearly 20% of children and adolescents in the U.S. are obese.
That's 14.7 million children. So when we think about it, this number has really increased over the years. And not only that, but it's really affecting kids earlier in life.
That's Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan registered dietitian Shantia Pello, who suggests promoting healthy diet and exercise at home and making it a family goal. She also suggests keeping regular meal times and allowing snacks at certain times of the day. She says you should not totally ban indulgence like ice cream or fried food. As his challengers take the stage next week for the second Republican primary debate, former President Donald Trump will reportedly be in Detroit. The New York Times is reporting Trump will be in town September 27th in a bid to attract UAW and blue-collar workers as the strike against the Detroit 3 automakers drags on. The report says Trump could even make an appearance at a picket line. There has yet to be an official announcement from the Trump campaign. When you see news happening, call the WSGW newsroom at 752-0790. It's 10:10. I'm Mike Percha. Now here's WNEM First Alert meteorologist Matthew Mondro.
Your Tuesday is going to be quite a quiet day, only a high of 70 degrees, partly to mostly sunny. Our wind will start to shift to the south today with a speed of 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight we'll have a low of 52, mostly cloudy with a few isolated showers after midnight, southeast wind at 5 to 10. And then on Wednesday, a few more isolated showers at the high of 76. And we'll have a southerly wind at 5 to 15 on Wednesday. Thursday could still see a few showers lingering, but that chance is at the lower end. Otherwise, partly to mostly sunny Thursday with a high of 79. Between tonight all the way through Thursday, rain totals will be very sparse, only up to about 1/10 of an inch at the most, and they will be highly isolated. By Friday, still looking at highs in the upper 70s, so warm to close out the week. From the First Alert Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matthew Mondro.
Right now, it's 55 degrees at WSGW.
Now, the only local radio talk show offering you the chance to ask your questions and express your opinions. From around your block to around the world, The Art Lewis Show is on 100.5 and 790 WSGW and online, WSGW.com. The Art Lewis Show is presented by Westside Decorating Center.
Yes, indeed. Westside Decorating Center. You can visit them at 5789 State Street in Saginaw or online at westsidedecoratingcenter.com. Great start to the hour here. We talked with Vanessa Guerra, the county clerk of Saginaw County. Oh my goodness. Christiana, help me out
Mouthful.
here.
Mouthful. I know. Yes, we talked about the 9 days of early voting and how to get involved with that. So we're shifting gears slightly here. And we are going to talk to Dr.
Dr. Dawn Hinton.
Dawn
She's the
Hinton
Associate
here.
Vice President for Academic Affairs at Saginaw Valley State University. And she and a group of people from Saginaw and Michigan and Canada went to a very special place. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Dr. Hinton, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. So I knew that Bay City had a sister city. I knew that Midland had a sister city, and I figured, Saginaw probably does. But then I saw that you had a presentation at last week's city council meeting about Saginaw's sister city, and it's in Ghana.
It is. It is in Ghana. It's in a monochrome Ghana. So in 2018, the city of Saginaw actually hosted the chief from a monochrome Ghana. His name is Nana Osim Kwatia II. Hosted him at the Saginaw African Cultural Festival, and during that time, visited a whole lot of places, had a really, really good time, enjoyed the experience, was given the key to the city, and then the then mayor, Browning, asked if we could create a sister city relationship, and absolutely was the answer. Yes, we can. And we did just that. And so the plan was in 2020 for us to visit. I need you to know that I can talk a whole lot, so you have to
We like it. That's fine.
Okay, good. So the plan was in 2020 for us to visit Ghana, to visit our sister. However, we all know what happened in 2020. We bought our tickets in January. We were ready to go. Then in March 2020, COVID hit. And then we said, okay, it's not going to be bad. This COVID thing, it'll resolve in a couple of months. And then we can go next year, right? So next year came, indeed, we could not go then. And so every subsequent year, we planned to go to Ghana. Finally, we went this year, July 6th through the 16th, to Ghana to visit our sister. Now, in addition to going to Ghana, we did a whole lot of other stuff. Really, really interesting and fun things. We visited the Kekun, the national park. walked on this, what is it called? A canopy walk, hundreds of feet off the ground. And of course, the canopy swings when you walk on it. So that was always exciting for those of us who are afraid of heights. So we did that. We visited Kwame Nkrumah's mausoleum. Now, Kwame Nkrumah was the first democratically elected president in the 1950s in Ghana. So we visited his mausoleum. We also visited Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois's museum. W.E.B. is actually an American citizen. He left America to go to Ghana at the request of Kwame Nkrumah to write an encyclopedia on Pan-Africanism.
Let me stop you there because I got a question that I wanted to address right before we dig any deeper, which is back when you said there was a representative from Ghana who came to Saginaw to experience the African Cultural Museum. How did that relationship even birth in the first place?
So it was the 50th anniversary of the Saginaw African Cultural Festival. And the Saginaw African Cultural Festival is the longest continuous running festival in the nation. So the 50th year, we said, okay, we have to do it big. We have to do something big. We need to have something. And so we couldn't figure out what we were going to do. And then finally it came through Dr. Ofori Dankwa, who was a professor here. Why don't we invite, one of the chiefs from Ghana to the fest? And we were like, that's brilliant. That's an absolutely brilliant idea. So we went about raising money in order to get him here, managed to bring him and one of his representatives along with him. Absolutely amazing experience. And what was interesting, or what was really valuable about that, is that we connected with his. So there is a tribe in Ghana that this chief oversees. There's a community that we connected with, his community that was in Detroit.
Really?
Yes. I mean, it was amazing. So they came up and they welcomed the chief as he came in. We celebrated with them. I mean, it was absolutely, absolutely beautiful experience.
Is that community around the U.S.? Is it specific to Michigan or Detroit?
So they have, I'm assuming that they have communities all across the diaspora. So these are folks who are native to that region, who are a part of that specific community. And once they get to the U.S., right, if you have others who have similar interests or, who are also a part of that community, they form these smaller kind of extensions, right? I can't speak to whether or not they exist in other places. I'm absolutely sure that they do. I know that they have a huge community in Detroit.
Wow.
So it was a fabulous experience for them to actually welcome their chief, right? And for us to see kind of how that culture operates.
Absolutely. So you took this trip finally this year after all of this waiting, and it sounds like you delved into a lot more than just this sister city partnership. You delved into kind of the history and the culture over there. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, visited all the sites that you have to visit when you go. One of the things that that is really crucial for folks from the African diaspora is the visit to what we call slave castles. In Ghana, they're simply called castles. These are the places where they held Africans before they were put on ships to be enslaved across the world, right? So we visited there. The most impactful thing, and it's difficult to kind of recollect that experience, but the most impactful thing there was there's a place that they have marked as the door of no return. And so this is the place where the ships would pull up to the castle. And once the Africans crossed that threshold, they would never see their homeland again.
Really?
It was a very emotional kind of experience. It's difficult to describe here, but it's an emotional kind of experience to be in the space where these folks were as they were being enslaved. And then the stories and the history that comes around that, the significance or the role that the church played in terms of enslaving folks was really kind of eye-opening for a number of us. The thing that I think kind of, really connected us there is that they also had what is called a door of return. So this was the threshold through which you passed when you came in that welcomed people who were from this African diaspora, who were from that ancestry, welcomed them back home to that space, right? And they talked about the significance of us coming to that space, of us recognizing, kind of the point that we need to celebrate this work, right? So it was powerful. It was impactful. It was amazing.
The group of people that you took with you
Mhm.
when you went to this castle, essentially, how and what was their reaction seeing that?
So I mean, as you can imagine, so what they showed us were what I could only describe as dungeons, right? So these were dungeons that were beneath the castle, right? And very small spaces, no lights. And so they walked us into these spaces with no lights. So you could have there was a visceral reaction to that, right? Knowing that, and there were maybe 26 of us, a couple extra people joined us on the tour. And even with the 26 to 30 people, it was a tight fit.
Okay.
What they had us do was to experience that in the darkness as our ancestors would have experienced it. And then they talked about the number of people that it would actually hold. There were some cells that would hold hundreds in the plural, and it was a tight fit for 30. And it was hot, and it was humid, and it was on the ocean. It was a visceral kind of experience. They talked about the experience that they had each day. They talked about how they treated those who behaved, quote unquote, inappropriately to being enslaved, those who resisted enslavement, what they did with them. It was a emotional kind of visceral, and I can speak only for myself. Now, I've been there 4 times. I've been to Ghana a number of times, taking folks to visit this space, and every single time I go, I have the same reaction.
It sounds like an emotional roller coaster, honestly, the highs and the lows. We're gonna take a quick break right now, and then we're gonna come back and talk a little bit about those high emotions.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Financial literacy isn't taught in our elementary classrooms, and parents lack the resources to teach it at home. But now the kids can learn about finance thanks to Be Sensible, Smart, and BCS-Kids.com. The Sensibles are a team of animated superheroes who help kids age 6 through 12 develop smart money habits in a fun way. Buy a subscription for your loved ones, and each month they'll get a kit in the mail with an entertaining DVD, comic book, and activities. Get 20% off using promo code CENT when you visit BCS-Kids.com.
Exergen thermometers are proven to be more accurate than non-contact thermometers. With children back at school, keeping them healthy is important. Clinical studies have proven that non-contact thermometers are inaccurate and can miss fevers. Accuracy matters. That's why the Exergen thermometer is trusted and used by medical professionals. Exergen thermometers are available at Walgreens and other participating retailers. Choose a trusted and accurate thermometer for personal use. Learn more about why accuracy matters at Exergen.com.
I'm Stuart Varney, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks lost ground at the open. The Federal Reserve's meeting is today and tomorrow, and grocery delivery company Instacart is launching its stock today on the NASDAQ. Crude oil prices are again firmly topping $90 a barrel today. Hanes Brands is considering selling its Champion athletic apparel business. Hanes shares opened up 3%. Target is hiring nearly 100,000 team members for the holiday season. It's also holding its fall sale before Amazon's Prime Day deals. Amazon's event is October 10th and 11th. Target's Circle Week is October 1st to 7th. Walmart's kickoff sale is October 9th to 12th. And Walt Disney is stepping up investment in its parks to $60 billion over the next 10 years. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
2 times the healthy blood pressure support? That's a number to rave about. Thanks to Superbeats Heart Chew's unique 2X ingredient that helps promote normal blood pressure nearly 2 times more effectively than diet and exercise alone. Superbeats is America's #1 selling beet brand and the only #1 cardiologist, doctor, and pharmacist recommended beet brand for heart health support. A clinical study showed that the key ingredient in Superbeats Heart Chews is nearly 2 times more effective at supporting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. And they're part of a brand with over 60,000 5-star ratings and reviews. So double your potential with a special offer exclusively for radio listeners. Get a free 30-day supply of Superbeats Heart Chews and 15% off your first order at getsuperbeats.com with code RADIO. That's a free 30-day supply and 15% off for radio listeners only at getsuperbeets.com, code RADIO.
Your WSGW morning team.
A life lesson for you. Again, thanks to a listener. A young married couple moved into a new house. The next morning, the young wife saw her neighbor hanging her wash outside to dry. The young wife commented, "That laundry is not very clean. She doesn't know how to wash correctly." Her husband remained silent. Every time that her neighbor hung up her wash to dry, the young woman looked out and made the same comments. A month later, the woman looked out and was surprised to see nice, clean wash on her neighbor's line. She said to her husband, "Look, she's finally learned how to wash correctly. I wonder who taught her." Her husband said to his young wife, "I got up early this morning and I washed our windows." The life lesson: what we see when watching others depends on the clarity of the windows we see the world. Ooh, does that hit home?
The morning team, 5:30 to 9 on WSGW.
We're back with you here on the Art Lewis Show on this Tuesday morning, and we're talking with Dr. Dawn Hinton from SVSU about their recent trip to, and I want to make sure I'm getting this right, so Dr. Hinton, you correct me. Is it a monochrome? Is that correct?
Perfect. That's exactly how you pronounce it.
All right, a monochrome in Ghana. We talked about the sister city relationship and kind of how that developed, and we talked about your trip, but we didn't talk about who all went on this trip. Who did you take with you over the summer?
Oh my gosh. It was amazing. So a part of the goal that I had in this work was to identify young people in the Saginaw community who could benefit from travel abroad. What research is telling us is that study abroad benefits all people. Right. In terms of becoming more cosmopolitan, students who actually engage in this are more likely to become engaged in community service, are better global citizens. Graduate students who do this are more likely to complete graduate degrees. So there are a number of benefits to this program. However, what the U.S. Department of State shared with us is that the people who actually have passports, which is required for travel, are white men who earn more than $140,000. That's kind of the image of the person who owns a passport. And so my thought was, how do we engage young people in the community who would not otherwise have an opportunity to travel abroad? So I worked with First World Community Center, where Mr. Rob Brown is currently the CEO. And I talked with them about, okay, so how can we identify young people who could benefit? And so we identified young people who were working with their Department of Natural Resources grant. They get a grant every year. With these young people, they work in the community. They learn about They work in the state, actually. They work in state parks. They learn about cleaning state parks. They learn about playing in state parks. They understand what state parks are supposed to do. And so we identified like 30 people initially. So my goal initially was to take 30 young people from First Ward to Ghana. Now, that was huge because that's very expensive, right? It turns out that I had maybe 15, right?
Okay.
In
That's a good
2020.
number. Yeah.
But how do you pay for all of these, right? So now we were going around asking for money in order to get money. Over the years, I had 15, we lost 8 because I only ended up taking 7. Students went to college. One student had a baby. Just life happens. Another student was in the military. They were then transferred somewhere else. And so they had to move away. So a number of people, we kind of missed out on the opportunity to share this experience with them. But one of the things that I will say about this is that when we first started, we got 15 people passports who would never have probably gotten passports before.
Yeah.
One of the young people who was working with us before, we were supposed to go 2020, right?
Yeah.
COVID. They took their passport and went to Mexico.
There
Right?
you go.
And so it created opportunities for them to do some things that they probably wouldn't have thought to do. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we actually took 7 young people from First Ward. We took 10 people from the Saginaw community. There were 5 folks that came from SVSU. And we had 3 people from Canada and 1 person from Houston, Texas, who wanted to go.
Now, why did you bring people from Canada and Texas along? Was it
I
just
know.
hey, we're going, let's
Hop
get
on that
everybody on the
bus.
plane?
Yeah.
I know. And it's interesting because, there were more people who wanted to go. A part of the issue was, this is a lot of work, y'all. And how do you buy flights, they got to get passports. They have to get a visa because we can't go to Ghana without permission from Ghana to visit, which is why they give out visas. We needed immunizations. So you needed a whole lot. And to manage that for 26 people was a lot. So why did I let the people from Canada? And because they were convincing. They convinced me that this was going to be a valuable experience for them, and they wanted to support the work that we were doing here. The woman from Houston, Texas, is my cousin, but said to me, I want to go because, I want to have the experience, but I also want to help you to, kind of manage the trip and to help out with the young people. So it was, and it was an amazing experience. Now you go to this thing for 10 days and the folks who are there, you become connected because you're living, eating, sleeping, breathing the same air with these people for 10 days. So it became, we're like a family. There was one woman who we called her Gigi because she was like a grandma.
Oh.
So, it was a wonderful experience, not only in terms of the things that we got to see and do, but also because of the relationships that developed in that work as well.
And your experience, it's a group that's experiencing all of these things together. And I imagine the culture is very different. So can you tell us a little bit about what was the reception like? What was the city like when you actually got to a monochrome
Right.
over there?
The people of Ghana are the most friendliest people that you will ever meet in your life. You get there, welcome home. My sister are the voices that we hear, welcome home. I'm so glad you could come back. So they welcomed us as a part of their family, right? There were a number of cultural differences. They eat different food, right? We didn't really get to experience the fullness of it, but we had, I don't know if you guys have ever seen fufu, but it's cassava, which is not something that we eat here, that is pounded into a paste-like ball, and you use it and you eat food. And I know I'm doing it and people on the radio can't see what I'm doing, but you pick off a piece of it, and then you eat your food with that piece with your hands, right?
Mhm.
They eat fish that still has the head on it. That's surprising for some folks. In America, we don't like to see the faces of the food that we eat. So the food was different. The language was different, even though in Ghana, and this is what impresses me about the Ghanaian people, is that they are multilingual. English is the national language. Everybody speaks English. But they also have these languages from the communities where they live, right?
Okay.
And so many Ghanaians speak 3 or 4 languages, right?
So was
That
language
was
a barrier for who you took with you, or was it a little bit more fluid?
because all of them speak English.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
Okay.
teach English in schools.
Wow.
So it wasn't a barrier. We learned a few phrases before we got there, and don't quiz me on the phrases we learned. I only learned like 1 or
Oh.
2. One of them is Madase, and Madase is thank you, right? So it was good if somebody did something for you and all you could say was Madase, that was good, right?
Now, is that a local dialect, or is it a little bit more widespread in Ghana?
So it is widespread. So we went
Okay.
to Accra to the capital, right? And we traveled some to Cape Coast, which is another larger city, and then Amonachrome is a smaller city. But still, everybody we encountered spoke English.
Wow.
Well, the babies maybe not. The babies didn't necessarily speak English because they weren't in school yet. But for the most part, folks spoke English, and so it wasn't a barrier at all. We actually had some people who traveled with us who were able to translate for us, some of the customs and some of the expectations. So that was good.
Well, it sounds like you had a good group of people with you. I actually watched a little bit of a video from the council meeting, and when we come back, I guess I had a couple questions in regards to Queen Mother.
Oh, yes.
Okay, all right.
Absolutely.
So we'll get to that when we get back.
Okay.
We're proud to make Pioneer Sugar for you and your family. Proud to be found in your kitchen, the heart of your home. And it doesn't really matter what you make with Pioneer Sugar, whether it's with our granulated white, light brown, or soft confectioners. It's the memories you'll make using it that will matter the most. Pioneer Sugar, pure and all natural, made from sugar beets grown right here. What could be sweeter than that?
Attention taxpayers, ready for some bad news? With $80 billion in new funding from Congress, the IRS has launched their most aggressive hiring campaign ever to ramp up enforcement. If you're ignoring your taxes, don't delay another minute because your paycheck, your bank account, even your home or business could already be at risk. Now, here's the good news. Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm, can get to work immediately, helping to protect you from the IRS. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, their tax attorneys and licensed professionals are experts at resolving tax problems. Let them help determine if you qualify for the Fresh Start Initiative or other powerful IRS tax assistance programs. Take control. Call Optima Tax Relief now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
Exergen is the smart choice when selecting a thermometer. As children return to school, keeping them healthy is important. Got a fever? Stay home. To detect fever accurately at home, you need a fast, non-invasive, and clinically accurate thermometer. Exergen provides all of that and is backed by over 100 clinical studies. Accuracy matters. Be smart and safe. Measure temperature accurately with Exergen. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair. Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
Thank you for being with 100.5 and 790 News Radio WSGW in the premier kitchen and bath gallery showroom and design center studios.
And we're back with you here on the Art Lewis Show. Jonathan Dent and Christiana Malacara filling in for Art. And we're talking with Dr. Dawn Hinton from Saginaw Valley State University about their recent trip to a monochrome in Ghana. I'm getting better at it. I'm getting quicker. Christiana, go ahead. You had some questions about the structure of things over there.
I did. The structure of the government in that village that we're... I'm not even gonna try. I'm sorry. I was doing a little bit of research, and I'm all about girl power here, right?
Yes, yes.
So let's talk about Queen Mother. I heard that she can veto a king. She can choose the next chief. Let's talk about this power role.
Yeah, so the Queen Mother in a monochrome, her name, and I had to look it up again, is Nana Manco Abba II. Absolutely beautiful woman. Had the opportunity. We had dinner with her at the chief's house after the community celebration that is referred to as a Durbar. But yeah, so the Queen Mothers, their roles vary. So they're not always the same in every community. But the Queen Mother historically is the person who holds they're the griot. They're the storyteller. They're the person that holds the genealogical history. They, can trace the history of that community. In addition, she has veto power over the chief. So the chief can decide that, these are the things that we want to do. And the Queen Mother can say, no, those are not the things that we're going to do. So it's in the best interest of the chief to consult very closely with Queen Mother in the decisions so that she doesn't veto, right? And then she also plays a role in choosing who the next chief will be. So I think a lot of times when we think about many African cultures, or when we think about just the role of women just across the world, we have this perception that women are kind of secondary, are the folks who are standing in the backgrounds. In many cultures, we see women who have very significant power in terms of what's happening in those communities and how it happens.
So the actual Queen Mother, is that a generational role, or does that role get voted in, or how does that work?
That is a very good question. I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that I'm not exactly sure how we get Queen Mothers.
Okay.
So
I'm voting we get one here.
Say it again.
I said, well, I'm voting we get one here.
Absolutely. I'm voting for Christiana. Is it Christiana?
Christiana, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm voting for Christiana to be the Queen Mother over at WSGW.
Oh, okay. All right. Might have to talk to Art about that one.
Now, I've got a question. A lot of times when we talk about these historical roles and historical governments, like the monarchs in Britain, they're kind of taking more of a ceremonial role, although they still do have that power. Is that still how things work in Ghana? Have they moved to a different form of government, or is it still kind of that localized rulership, I guess?
So they do have mayors, and they do have a parliament and so it really is run in terms of a parliament, and they do have mayors over regions. My understanding, and I can't talk definitively about this, but my understanding is that those kind of official governmental appointments, they work collaboratively with the chiefs and the sub chiefs. So there is this way of the mayor is actually appointed by the president, right? The mayors of these regions are appointed by the president. And he was actually there. So we had an opportunity to meet the mayor of a monochrome. In addition, the chiefs, they have a very clear hierarchy. Again, I'm not well versed in that hierarchy, but what I have observed is that both of those groups, they work collectively in order to get the work done in that community. What's really interesting is that they had a Durbar, which was a celebration for kind of the development of our relationship, that was held by the chief. So they have a specific space that is identified to hold these ceremonial events. The kids from the school came. We had some high school kids who came in and did poetry, some who sang songs. I shared with you that the Women's Council of a Monochrome got up and serenaded us. I shared this with City Council, serenaded us with a couple of songs during that celebration. And then we also had these other sub-chiefs. So there's a chief, and then we have these sub-chiefs beneath him who came from other areas around that came to celebrate that relationship, the development of that relationship as well.
I love that. I love that there's a new bond forming, and I think that just handing over a key, wasn't enough. That's why
Right.
we took this big trip out there, right? So
Yes.
we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break, but when we come back, we're gonna talk about the follow up, kind of what's next for this group too.
Oh, good.
Consider a move to Wellspring Senior Living Campus in Saginaw.
We recently had a respite guest stay with us. He actually came over to us from a Transitional Care Community, which is a partnership we have with Covenant. He got settled into the respite suite with just an overnight bag. We provided him with a fully furnished apartment. He was able to socialize when he could. He could continue his therapy, participated in activities. He ultimately met his goal of returning home, and it was an overall really great experience.
Schedule a tour today at SaginawSeniorLiving.com.
A spectacular evening of soul. Patti LaBelle. Gladys Knight. Friday, October 13th, Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Soul Sisters, Soul Royalty. Tickets start at $69. On sale now at the box office and etix.com. Two legends, one stage. Patti LaBelle and Gladys Knight, October 13th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Have you ever wondered, how long can I keep foods in the freezer? Or how long can I safely leave food out? At MichiganFoodSafety.com, you can find these answers and more. There's a checklist and many other consumer and industry resources available. Tips on ways to keep food safe while camping, grilling, and traveling are available at MichiganFoodSafety.com. Sponsored by the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association and the Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
This is a paid advertisement. Pulaski Kirker with principal offices in Houston, Texas is responsible for the content of this advertisement. Parker Stenauer is attorney licensed in Michigan. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should never be based upon an advertisement. Attention, victims of sexual abuse. If you were sexually abused by a member of the clergy, listen closely, as you may be entitled to financial compensation, even if the abuse happened decades ago. A recent report from Michigan's Attorney General details decades of sexual abuse in the diocese with accused priests. If you suffered abuse from a clergy member, no matter how long ago, call our law firm's confidential clergy abuse helpline at 800-320-9047. We may be able to get you justice, closure, and substantial compensation while your case remains fully confidential. This is your chance to hold those responsible accountable and receive a meaningful financial settlement. So hurry, call our law firm's 100% confidential clergy abuse helpline right now to seek justice and compensation. Call 800-320-9047. That's 800-320-9047. 800-320-9047.
Paid for by government.com. Have you heard? Morgan's silver dollars are back for 2023. For the 100th anniversary, the U.S. Mint released the first legal tender Morgans in 100 years. They sold out instantly. Now, Morgan's silver dollars are back in 2023, minted in 99.9% pure silver, but only 275,000 coins were minted, and they will go fast. The entire market and experts agree this is a big deal and an amazing opportunity for both coin and silver buyers. Just call 1-800-973-3094 and you are guaranteed a 2023 brand new uncirculated 99.9% pure silver Morgan dollar. But with limited quantities, you must call now. To learn more, call 1-800-973-3094. Plus, you'll receive a free bonus Patriots pack, new and improved, a $25 value free with every order. Call 1-800-973-3094 now to secure your new 2023 Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-3094.
Good morning. How was your sleep last night? Today's workers are asked to do more for less. So when you go to bed and spend 1/3 of your life there, you need quality sleep. Get it with a quality mattress from Sanitary Mattress. You can visit all the so-called sleep stores, or you can rest assured that the mattress you're used is manufactured right here in the Great Lakes Bay region to your specifications. Your dollars are spent and stay right here in the local economy. Your time in bed may be cut short by today's demanding world, but don't be fooled. You can still get quality good night's sleep on a Sanitary Mattress. And they feature 1-hour delivery of your mattress to your home. If you have an RV or a boat, Sanitary Mattress will custom make a mattress for you. Can the box stores do that? Visit Sanitary Mattress Factory and Showroom, serving this area since 1935. Head to 5343 Janes Road in Saginaw, just east of the Harry Brown Airport, or visit them on the web at sanitarymattress.com, or you can call 753-1757.
Hi, this is Scott Trout of Cordell & Cordell. There are times those dads get divorced. For more than 30 years, we've represented men in divorce, confronting the pitfalls that could devastate your finances or harm your family relationships. While every situation is different, our goal is to get the best outcome for you and your kids. Visit CordellCordell.com to take the first step.
Offices in Detroit, Ann Arbor, and Grand Rapids. Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's attorneys online at CordellCordell.com.
We're back with you here on the Art Lewis Show. Jonathan Dent and Christiana Malacara. Oh, that's the first time I've messed that up on the air. filling in for Art today. We're joined by Dr. Dawn Hinton from SVSU, and we were just getting into, we talked about the trip out to Ghana, out to Amonachrome, and what's the future of this Sister City program? How are you going to share this information? Because I hadn't heard about it until your presentation at the Saginaw City Council meeting last week. What's the next step here?
I know. So we did this presentation for the city, just as a recognition or reminder, not a reminder. We did a presentation earlier to remind the city that this is what we're going to do. And then we came back and shared with them what our progress was. What we know the city is trying to do is to develop a committee that addresses Sister City issues. I don't know if it's coming from the city or if it's coming from somewhere else, but we do have a number of sister cities. And of course, we all know about the one in Japan. And I think that we have another one outside of Ghana. I want to say it's one in Mexico. And I don't know that we're doing a very good job as a city of recognizing kind of the relationships that we develop with these other locations. So hopefully it's my desire to participate in those conversations, just to make sure that our city recognizes that we have an impact that's international, that we're impacting what's happening in countries across the world. And we have the opportunity to engage with these folks in ways that can be meaningful, not only for us, but also meaningful for them. I can say that for this Sister City relationship specifically, we've invited Chief Nana Osim Kwatia II to come in 2 years. So when we went, we said, okay, so if we can get on this 2-year rotation, he was like, no, I'm coming next year. I said, well, this is wonderful, Chief. So we would be excited to host him next year and hopefully kind of introduce him again to the city as a part of, as a part of our family, essentially.
So when this introduction comes again, now that we've already, made the homage over and back, are you going to be reaching out to a brighter scope of people, and how are we going to do that?
That is a very good question. And I am open to all kinds of recommendations and conversation. I've been working with Councilman George Copeland, talking about precisely how are we going, because he actually escorted, the students from SVSU. How are we going to host him next year? So we're having those conversations already about what it is that we need to do. If anybody is interested in helping, I am open to all assistance that folks want to offer, because this is indeed this should be a source of pride for Saginaw, that we are connected and we're maintaining this relationship.
I think that relationship is definitely a good way to explore the history and remember. But I thought of this as you were talking about the slave castles and your trip over there and your visit there and how it was very somber and serious. It is important to remember history. It's important to look back on it. It's important to know what happened. But why is it important to celebrate it in the way that we do?
To celebrate the history that
The ties back to Africa, especially Saginaw has a pretty large African American community. Why is it important to celebrate that connection?
Right. I think it's important for us all to know who we are and where we come from. For those who are not, well, none of us are really, only a few folks are really native to this space.
Yeah.
Many of us don't have the opportunity to kind of trace our ancestry through ancestry.com or following kind of a genealogical, because they didn't keep records of folks who were held as property. Right. So this opportunity to go back to a space where that, this is a potential connection to who you are and where you're from is important. It's important for us to know who we are. Right. It's important for us to celebrate who we are, to recognize, kind of this historical context. One of the things that that was really, really powerful is that they have this plaque on the wall at the castle. And it was a plaque that was sponsored by those who were the direct descendants of the folks who lived in that area surrounding the castle. And the plaque says, we are the descendants of, it wasn't people who were the direct descendants of who were descendants of those who went to, I'm trying to figure out how they made this connection. But let me tell you what the plaque said, and then we'll figure it out.
We'll go from there.
The plaque said, we are the descendants of those who refused to die. Right. And so it must have been folks who have come back, right, created this plaque to say, right, I'm recognizing, right, that this is the place where my ancestors came from. And not only that, but these are people who made a months-long journey across the Atlantic Ocean, right, in order to make it to wherever they made it to. Millions of people are purported to not have survived that journey, but some did.
Yes.
So can you imagine, and I don't know if you guys have had the opportunity to visit the Charles H. Wright Museum in Detroit, which has this this mock-up of what in the insides of the slave ship looks like. Not only do you see it, but you hear it. You can hear people moaning, and you can feel the ship move. It's that kind of thing, right? That your ancestors,
yeah, it sounds so monumental.
That trip, which is the only reason you're here.
Absolutely.
And I know I have plenty of questions. Jonathan does too, and I'm sure our listeners are gathering up a concept and idea of what's happening. But what's a good way to kind of follow up if anyone does have questions? Can we reach out to you via email? Is there a phone number or a website that we can get to kind of just gain more on this?
Absolutely. I would love emails. My email is simply drdawnhinton@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out to me. I know that Councilman Copeland is going to be doing some work on this as well, so you can reach out to him as well. But please feel free to reach out with any questions, or if you're interested in helping us to move forward on this, then absolutely we welcome that help.
All right, Dr. Hinton, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We could go on for so much longer, but we're running out of time here. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing that trip with us. We'll be right back on the Art Lewis Show.
We're going abroad for the first time in years, to Spain.
But we don't speak Spanish.
So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks. Babbel's conversational method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish.
Estoy muy emocionado para ir a España contigo.
Aw, he just said, I'm very excited to go to Spain with you. Nos vamos a divertir mucho.
And that means we're going to have a lot of fun.
Sí. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
What's the most important part of a retirement plan?
Income is king because we only need income. And if you don't have an income plan, you don't have a retirement plan.
That's Kevin Ray, financial coach at Insight Folios. Kevin tells his listeners every week about the importance of income planning, minimizing taxes, and strategies to lead a worry-free retirement. Learn all about that and get your own complimentary financial review by calling 888-885-PLAN. That's 888-885-7526.
That'll do it for this edition of the Art Lewis Show. We want to thank Dr. Dawn Hinton from SVSU for joining us to talk about the trip to Monochrome, Ghana, Saginaw's sister city in Africa, as well as Saginaw County Clerk Vanessa Guerra for joining us, talking about elections and things that are very important here locally and nationally. So up next, we'll have the Focus program. Charlie Rood will be sitting in, and we'll be talking with Rachel from the SVRC Marketplace. All of that's ahead, but first the news, the national and international report with CBS, and then in the WSGW newsroom for the state and local report with Michael Percha. Focus is up next.
From the Premier Kitchen and Bath Gallery Studios, WSGW, Saginaw, Bay City, Midland, WSGW FM, Carlton.